The U.S. has determined that Russia is guilty of crimes against humanity. Will Vladimir Putin ever be held accountable?
That is for the international system to determine, but I think if he looks at Milosevic, it took some time. Pinochet, it took some time. The world is looking at the atrocities that are being committed by Russian troops, and there's only one person responsible for that, and that's Vladimir Putin.
Will Russia be forced to pay reparations someday? Because under the international law, crimes against humanity can lead to reparations to help rebuild Ukraine.
Yeah, I think all of the tools that we have available to us to hold Russia accountable will be used to exact those kinds of payments from them.
You know, here we are in the Security Council, which Eleanor Roosevelt and others of that generation viewed as the place for human rights and peace. And yet there can't be a resolution today because China and Russia would veto it. Doesn't the structure mitigate against the Security Council being as powerful as it should be?
You know, the Security Council is over 70 years old. And we have been talking over the past few months about how we reform the Security Council. We make it more inclusive. We added new states, for example, from Africa, because when this council was created 70 years ago, many of those countries didn't exist. So there are some tweaks that need to be done. There's some reform that we're all talking about, but we have to make a reality so that the council can work more effectively. But all said, we do accomplish a lot here. We do pass resolutions that get unanimous support from members of the council. And we will do our best to continue to see this council provide what the world is seeking, and that's peace and security around the world. It's a work in progress, and it's one that there's no end state to. We have to keep working at it.
And when I've talked to some of your predecessors in better times, they had relationships outside of the council chamber with their Russian counterparts. What's your relationship with the ambassador from Russia?
It's complicated. As a diplomat, he was well respected here in the council, but since the war with Ukraine, the Russians have kind of gone off the rail. You may have heard that we had a council meeting in which they brought a briefer in who started singing to the council. So they're showing total disrespect to the council, and that disrespect is now being reflected in the kind of relationships that we have outside the council with Russian diplomats.
So here we are on the anniversary. It's been 1 year. What's your message to the Ukrainian people?
The President gave that message so clearly when he was in Ukraine. We stand with Ukraine. We will stand with Ukraine as long as Ukraine needs us. And as long as Ukraine continues to fight, we will give them what they need to fight. We're behind them. We're standing with them. And they're fighting on the front lines for freedom, for democracy, and for all the values that we share.
How does this war end?
That's a question that, at the moment, Vladimir Putin can answer. It's in his hands to pull his troops out of Ukraine. If he does it today, the war ends. The Ukrainians are fighting for their lives. And so they can't stop fighting as long as they're being attacked by Russia. But Russia can stop today, and the war's over.
And with China, a potential game changer, because he's running low on ammunition. He needs their help. He needs them to get more ammunition, more weapons into him. If they do that, is that a red line?
I think we've been very clear to the Chinese that this is problematic. And we have told them in no uncertain terms that if they do provide lethal weapons to the Chinese, that we will, to the Russians, that we will respond. So they know, they've had conversations at the highest levels of the U.S. government with the President of the United States, with the Secretary of State, that any moves by their part, on their part to provide lethal support to Russia's aggressive efforts, their attack on the sovereignty of Ukraine would be viewed with tremendous concern by us, but also by the rest of the world. They have relations with others in the world. They have relations with Europe. They're going to blow all of that should they make this unfortunate decision.
You've said before it's a red line. Does that mean anything to them?
I assume it does, but I think they've heard clearly from the president that this is not something they want to do.
Madam Ambassador, thank you very much for your time on a very important day.
Good. Thank you very much, and great to talk to you again.